Hey, nice to have you back on the channel. I hope you're doing great. And the sun is also shining for you. Today I want to talk about contrast in music production because I think it's a really underrated topic. I actually never saw people talking a lot about this on YouTube. And I want to make a video about this because contrast transforms tracks. So there's this subtle elements that you can do that will change your track from a, I would say, standard track to an, really like, wow, I remember that track kind of feeling. The most powerful element in your mix isn't your kick drum or your synth. It's the contrast created by the spaces between the sounds. So you know that feeling. You're in a club and they put the risers up, everything, the kick is gone, and you're like, yeah. He takes like 16 bars for doing it, and you're like so ready for the kick. And then the kick comes back in with a bass line, but you're kind of like disappointed. Like you was thinking a little bit more is happening. And I believe this is the contrast that is missing in the drop. And I feel like there's many tracks where this is the case. So what I mean with that is there's a way to do contrast. And I feel like there's this kind of framework that I write some stick points here just to put more clear down what I actually mean with all of this. So there's 5 things you can do to improve the contrast in your tracks. So first of all, there's dynamic contrast. Sure, you can make stuff loud or quiet, but playing with that consciously is, I think, what a lot of people don't do. Then you have the frequency contrast. So like stuff gets super full. That's why some people use white noise to make a rise and make the frequency range really full and then just cut it for having a huge contrast when the kick comes back in. So full or filtered, one of the things you can always do. Then density contrast. So is it like very busy or clean? It's kind of the same, but you can use it in different ways. Like don't have to be a white noise full frequency range. It can be also just an element that is on top of everything, but maybe just use like some mids, whatever. And then we have the spatial contrast, also like the wide or the narrowness of elements. So how much you split the stereo image and how less you do it. So like best contrast between a kick and a hi-hat or something. Maybe the hi-hat is super stereo split, or the shaker is like gets really wide in the stereo image. That gives for your brain a lot of contrast between the other elements. And then there's texture contrast. So is it more like clean versus noisy or a lot of room sound? I think that's like the 5 key elements you can work with. And I just built like a little Ableton session now here where I just wanted to show that a little bit. So you're getting also like by hearing what I mean. So let's jump in. And what I meant with this drop in the moment was like you have this with like they're using rides mainly to do that. So we have this like drop happening and then the ride is coming in with the bass again. The first example would be something that I mean is not enough in contrast, but can be cool, and I have nothing against it, of course. I just think it could be better. So first example is wrong. You have the kick, you're having a lot of noise, and then they go back and drop the bass. That is cool and can work, but what I would do is having like a really crazy contrast between cutting maybe the noise of the ride and having a new element coming in that is like from the frequencies absolutely in contrast, from the stereo image absolutely in contrast, and just having a completely different room sometimes helps. So in this case we have their new clap coming in, but you will see. This is how I would do it. We're going here and then so you see that element here, the clap. Super boring, but in the contrast with all the other elements. So I would say this feels super wet because of the noise. And then you come back and it dries everything out. So that's one thing. Then, like I said, we can have synth lines. So we have something like this. And then again, they go and they do that. So they just put the kick back in the bass line. So nothing happened. What I would do is, even here, just having the filter open and then changing, first of all, the synth a little bit. On the second channel, the filter gets closed. And even here, we have this like, yeah. And here, I'm changing it. So how it will sound? It's the same synth. And then you can start opening it again. So yeah, I think you know what I mean now by hearing that. So just a simple example was that now, of course, but this element's making a huge difference. So have them a little bit more in mind, because I see a lot of times that this is not the case. And then people ask me what they could improve. And it's sometimes not that easy to kind of give good feedback here, because this is a really subtle thing you can do. It just makes the difference in the end. And I think it's just the contrast. Because sound design, sometimes with these people that ask me, is amazing, and the arrangement, everything is just perfect, so I don't want to give any feedback, but sometimes it's the contrast that just miss a little bit when you go from one clip line to the next clip line. Just change some other things, or in the arrangement when you have like a drop, maybe change one of your main elements and just give them a little bit of a different pattern or something like this. Just embrace some contrast. In this case, like and subscribe. Have a good day, and we see us soon. Bye.